guys. I am Lanikia, and you're watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is the Young and the Restless edition. Today is Thursday, September the 7th, 2023. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to have to give this one a 7. It was solid to me. All right, let's get into it. First of all, we see Billy and Abby. Now he's went over to Abby. He pretends he's going to see Dominic, and she said, "All right, I know you're not just coming here to see Dominic. What's up?" And he tells her that he would like to put in place a motion that for Diane and anyone else coming into the company that they can't have. I believe he was like any shares or um, some entitlements to their position for like 10 years because he wants to protect Jabot from if Diane could possibly mean it any harm. Like if she can wait it out 10 years, if she's conning and she can wait that con out 10 years, cool. Plus, he's worried about his own co-CEO position because he says Jack is gone. He's wide open. And I feel like maybe he's so far gone that he would let Diane take the position or let her have too much power. He said, because the job she has now, she's not qualified for. And Abby says, we just got over this fight between mom and Uncle Jack, and now you want to do this one? She's not with it. I said, no, you should have known Abby wasn't gonna be with it. But he tried, child, and he said, all right, but he said, I'm gonna do what I have to do to protect the company and everything. And she was like, okay. So then we see Diane and Jack talk. Now he's getting off the phone with Ashley, and they're back to their lovey-dovey brother and sister relationship, right? And she was like, "Ugh, do you trust it?" And he was like, it looks like she's putting her new company on pause. And I was like, well, why is she putting it on pause? Like, go ahead and start your new company. It doesn't mean you have to go after Jabot, but go ahead and start your new company. But she's putting it on pause. And he says, that's good news for us. And Diane was like, you trust it and all that. And he was like, yeah, there's been a change in Ashley after Diane saved her life. So he's willing to be optimistic and just see the best out of the situation. But he said now that him and Ashley have things worked out, he and Billy are it's rough. And she says this is partly my fault because I'm the one who brought up this thing about using Billy to try to get into Ashley and Tucker's company. He says, I don't, he was like, it doesn't even matter anymore. Billy, he takes one thing you say and he just lets it just live and live until there's a feud going on. And he was like, he doesn't want this, but he doesn't know how to stop it. But he's going to try, and he's gonna also try to protect Diane with this. I said, all right, Jack. Listen, I'm not gonna hold you long on that. Let's move on. So then we see Billy goes to talk to Jack because now they're at the office. So Billy goes to talk to Jack, and he says, "Diane, do you mind if I speak to him in private?" And Jack is like, "Whatever you have to say that can be said in front of Diane." And I'm like, "See, Jack, this is what I be talking about. You can't give your brother a few minutes like he can try to work this out with you, because first of all he said, hi Jack, how are you, how's it going or whatever. And Jack was like, I'm not in the mood to fight and all this. And Billy was like, well, all I asked was how's it going. I didn't even come in at you with that type of attitude or on that type of time. And so Diane says, listen, I'm gonna leave because I want y'all to work whatever this is out. And so Billy tells Jack that, he just wants to have this provision in place in case Diane is playing him. And Jack is offended by it. And he says, Jack, listen, if this was anybody new coming into the company, you would do this. You would be just fine with this if it wasn't your wife and it wasn't somebody you love. And he said, but it is my wife and it is somebody I love. And I said, honestly, what Billy is proposing is not a bad idea. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna have a business and you're gonna bring a spouse in, if they willing to wait 10 years to get some shares and all this and that, what's wrong with that? If they're willing to play that long con, well, baby, you earn those shares, and if we can stay married 10 years, I see nothing wrong with that. But Jack was offended. He doesn't want to do it. And so Billy says, I am trying to protect the company. And, Tucker was right when he told Jack, say what you want, but Billy doesn't like Diane in this whole thing quite, or trust Diane quite as much as you think he does. And he was all that stuff he was saying, all of it wasn't fake. And it's true. Billy is not 100% untrusting of Diane. Yes, because he was the main one talking about giving her a second chance and all that, and he agrees with that. But he also says protect the company, because yeah, you might be in love and all this now, but she doesn't bring anything to a table, and he's worried about his own position, because he says Jack is so far gone, he would give Diane a position if she asked him to. If she's talked to him sweetly enough and said the right things and acted a certain way, he will go ahead and get it, because that's how deeply in love he is with her. So Billy is concerned. Jack not trying to hear it, so the rift between them grows deeper. And so then when Billy goes outside, Diane says, I hope I haven't traded one enemy for another one or whatever. And he told her, listen, he still feels the same way he does about Diane. He thinks she can change or whatever. He said, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to protect the company. And it looks like the only person that can do that is me. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So feel how you want to feel. This is about Jabot, not about your feelings and not about anything else. And listen, Billy is not my favorite, but I get what he's saying on this. I don't like, this is not a big deal. I don't understand why they're making this bigger than what it is. Let that be in the contract that she can't get shares and stuff for 10 years and move on. Like if you love her and she gonna be there, shit, 10 years will go by fast. Lord knows it's going by fast. But anyways, so then we see um Billy runs into Kyle. And when he runs into Kyle, he just told, they talking or whatever, and he says, well, it looks like, because he sees Billy is in a bad mood, and he was like, what's going on with you? And Billy was like, nah, it's all good. He was like, well, since Ashley is gone, at least her and Tucker won't be bothering my mom, because Billy tells him about Ashley going, I guess, going on honeymoon. They just talk about all this different stuff. And he said, so what's going on? Something about Jabot. Does it have to do with my mom? And you could tell Kyle got in defense mode immediately. And Billy said, don't you worry about what's going on at Jabot, because you were the one who decided you didn't want to be there. So don't worry about what's going on there. And Kyle is just like, well, whatever's going on, just keep my mother out of it or whatever. Get your butt on. I don't know why. Kyle be getting on my nerves. He gets on my nerves. Cause and Billy just sits down and he thinks about everything that's went down. How he told Jack from the beginning, I trust you. And Jack wants his blind loyalty to him and Diane. He said, listen, I'll trust Diane until she gives me reason not to. But he told Jack in the beginning, Diane, the position you just gave her, she's not qualified for. And you didn't even run that position by me. You just did it. That's not right. And so then he thinks about his conversation with Lily, where he's telling her everybody is in it for themselves. And she said, there's a little part of you want power. And he was like, even if that is true, at the end of the day, he's trying to protect Jabot, and that's what he wants to do. So then we see who else, child. Yeah, that's it with Billy. He's in the mindset that he's gonna do what he has to do to protect Jabot. So then we see, okay, so Kyle had been talking to Nikki, right? And Nikki had told him, whatever he got going on with Audra, they can't do that on company time. So cut it off. And he says Audra did break up with me and everything. And she was like, good. And she was asking him, can he work it out with Summer? And he told her, what is that? Oh, he told her, no, he can't work it out. She chose her mother over him. And I don't know. Every time Kyle does that, I'm just like, sir, how many times did you choose your mother over Summer? How many times was Summer uncomfortable with something and you always made her see it from your point of view with Diane? And she always had to just go along with it. Like, you can't be a little bit forgiving, but it is what it is. That's why, like, when he was doing all that with Billy, that's why your marriage is the way it is now headed to divorce. And he don't want to admit this, But I think deep down, Kyle still has some type of feelings for Summer. Cause baby, when she told him Heather is here, and I, I told her about the divorce and stuff, he was shocked. Yeah, it's time for her to move on. You don't want her. She's not gonna sit here waiting in the wings, waiting on you to decide you want to be with her after you get done with Audra. Cause baby, I like Kyle with Audra, but she using him. She using him. Let's move on. So, anyways, Nikki tells him she don't really have. She just wants him to try to work it out with Summer, but she understands if he can't. But she doesn't know what position he's gonna have in Newman. But she's gonna find out what it is, and she says, "I think you're more ruthless than you let on because you're willing to. If you don't like something, you'll move right along without looking back. You know, she was talking about Summer and all that, and he was like, she was like, I'm surprised you couldn't use that as your bow. And he said, my dad doesn't see that as an asset. And she told him, I don't know about that with Jack. But anyways, that she don't have a position for this man. I don't know why she called him over there. She really just called him over there for some personal business, trying to get up in his business about Summer. Let's move on, y'all. So then we see Abby runs into Kyle, right? And she tells him, she starts talking to him about, how are you with the divorce and everything. He was like, oh my gosh, if another person come and tell me how I should feel, because she tried to tell him, you cannot tell me that you're okay with this divorce and you don't have any lingering feelings, or no matter what it is, if it's anger, if it's love, if it's hatred, if it's betrayal, like whatever it is. And he was like, for all of y'all telling me this, my life is better now without Summer. She was holding me back. I said, oh, okay. He said she was holding me back. I'm better now. And she was like, oh, okay then. Well, all right. And then they move on about their business because Carl said what he said. And so then Abby calls Jack and she said, I'm worried about Kyle. And she tells him. And so then okay, so then Nate is meeting with Audrey and he said, girl, listen, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Don't you ruin your job messing around with Kyle Abbott. He was like, she was like, I got a demotion. He said, you lucky to still have a job. You still got a job and it's still a COO is a good position. So she was like, yes, this is true. And he said, so don't you ruin that messing around with Kyle. And she was like, no. I'm done with Kyle. That little thing, she always downplays what she got going on with Kyle to Nate. That little thing, that little fling, it's over. I'm done with that. And he was like, mm-hmm. And so he said, well, I just need you to reassure me because I stuck my neck out there for you. Don't have me looking bad. And so Nikki comes up and she was like, what y'all talking about? And Audra said, he's just telling me to leave Kyle alone and all that because he stuck his neck out. And she said, yeah, and y'all still spend a lot of time together, even though y'all no longer work in the same department or whatever. And she was like, he just mentors and gives her advice and stuff. Thank you for breakfast, Nate. I said, you see it too, Nikki? I think Audra and Nate finna have some kind of fling themselves, but I don't know, y'all. Y'all tell me what you think. So then Audra gets a text message from Kyle, told her meet at the park. He got her lemonade waiting. And she said, okay. And she was like, oh, and Nikki see it and she said, oh, good news. And she said, oh, just a message from a friend or whatever. And so she leaves. And Nikki was like, Nate. He was like, Mrs. Newman. And so they leave or whatever. But Nate, like, what this girl finna do? So he follows Audra. And so she texts Kyle and she's like, I'm in the park waiting on my lemonade, but he got held up by Billy. So that's why it took him a little longer, right? Um, so then he finally makes it to the park, gives her a drink and all that, and they talking to each other. I said, y'all just gonna be like this in the park. They flirted and he was all up on her, and she was like, we can't do this in public. It's too dangerous and all that. And he was like, but behind closed doors. I said, oh my goodness. All right, everybody come walking through that little park. Everybody be walking up through there. But anyways, he gets a call from Jack, and Jack said, I need to talk to you. And so he like, all right, I'm gonna come over. And so he has to go. And when he leaves, Nate comes up and he says, see, I knew he was lying to me about Nate. And not, more importantly, You lied to Nikki about it. And that was it, y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That was The Young and the Restless. I will see you tomorrow for the final episode of the week of What Happened on the Soaps, The Young and the Restless edition. Goodbye.